This podcast is not sponsored or supported by any business or organization. The views reflected on these podcast episodes are my own. Please be aware I am not a medical expert, travel agent, or any other kind of expert. Hey everyone! Welcome to the Eat, Explore, Love podcast. I'm Ashley. This podcast is based off of my blog of the same name, Eat, Explore, Love. It talks about the unique challenges in traveling around the world when you have celiac disease. Due to sort of popular demand, I decided to also record a podcast to delve a little deeper into my travels and the lessons learned along the way. I am so excited for this episode of Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. In a 3-part series, I am talking with my sister Brittany, who was diagnosed with me 15 years ago with celiac disease. During our conversations, we're going to be talking about what it meant to get that diagnosis when she was so young, how it impacted our lives, the advice we would give to those getting that diagnosis today, and how to approach looking for colleges when you have celiac disease. We also talk about Brittany's time studying abroad and her travel dreams. But for today's episode, we're going to be talking about our amazing experience in Budapest, as well as our first time going on a Celiac Cruise with AmaWaterways on the Danube. It was an amazing way for us to be able to celebrate Oktoberfest. But before I get too much further into the excitement of describing the trip, here's part 1 of my conversation with my sister Brittany. So I guess we'll start off with the Celiac Cruise. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I want to talk about how we decided to go on the Celiac Cruise. I know for me, I was introduced to it I got an email from the Celiac Disease Foundation, and they mentioned that they were doing their first ever Celiac Cruises, and then I mentioned it to you. What made you want to try out the Celiac Cruise with me?
So, with the Celiac Cruise, you came and introduced it to me that you got an email for it, that this was something that was going to be happening, and mentioned it to me if this was something that I would want to participate in, which I was fine and all about kind of trying it, because one of the stressors with traveling is always making sure that there's food that is available and that won't make you sick, and that you're also not limited and able to fully experience the culture because of having to eat gluten-free and having that allergy and worry. And so that was something that was intriguing about this sort of project kind of starting and being exposed, that people with celiac would be able to fully experience and immerse themselves into the culture of the different places that we were visiting, while also not having the worry of getting sick from it. And so that was something that is always intriguing, not having to worry about food, because that's always anytime going and traveling, I mean, anybody with celiac or with an allergy, that's the first thing that you're researching about a place, not what activities you can do in the place. It's always what food can I eat so I can survive, and
not have to pack like a refrigerator full of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to, having to pack my carry-on suitcase full of snacks just in case if food isn't available or able to like eat that night, or stuck in the airport or whatever else. So that was something that was intriguing, and also the fact of being able to travel abroad, because I love to travel and experience new cultures and things. So being able to do both and not have that worry was what was most intriguing. And I mean, after speaking with the people that started this, that's the reason why they were starting it, is because they have their own worry with their own children and stuff, and so that's why they had started this project. So the whole thing was just very inclusive and welcoming, and wanted to try it out.
I think that also what perked me up a little bit, because I could see a celiac cruise and that can mean anything of like, we're going to be on a boat for 3 days and that's it. But what triggered this was it was in October and it was ending in Germany and going to Oktoberfest. And I think one of the things that you and I have talked about is what a bummer that we would never get to do Oktoberfest in Germany, because that's pretzels and beer, which is gluten central. So that was the only way I felt like
it's a celiac's hell.
Yeah. It was the only way we were going to get to experience it and have fun. So it ended up. So there was a big lead up to going to this cruise. There was a lot of time between us signing up for it and then us actually going on the cruise. And it had never existed before. There was nothing to find online about it. So I think also having celiac is you become a bit of a planner. I talk about that on the podcast a lot. And I think you and I were like, okay, what excursions are we going on? Like how does that impact our meal times? If we're going into a certain area ahead of time, or if we have to stay a day later, what does that mean for our food? And there were so many unknowns. I think that made us a little anxious, and our expectations were all over the place. We'd never been on a cruise before, because with having celiac, the worst thing is if you get glutened and then being on a boat, that's also a celiac hell, depending upon what your reaction to gluten is. It's just a double whammy. So what were your expectations before going into the cruise? What were the things that you were most anxious about?
I think the things that I was most anxious about was we didn't find out what the excursions were until like about a month before.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember exactly when, but it was pretty close to when the cruise was, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to be getting getting my money's worth with like that, and was able, like with going to all these different places, that I would be able to do and see what I wanted to do. So I was pretty anxious. And also the fact that with some of the excursions you had to pay extra, so making sure that I had that money aside and being able to pay for what I wanted to do, and not like that was one of the more difficult things with being a planner that celiac kind of makes you be. That was something that was a little bit difficult, of not knowing upfront kind of what excursions there were, and just finding that out last minute. So that was one. And then,
which is apparently the norm for river cruises, that
which I've gone on like a big cruise before.
Was that before you were diagnosed with celiac? Or
no,
after?
It was after.
Oh, okay.
It was for my friends. One of my best friends in high school's instead of having a big Sweet 16 party, she had a cruise, and she was able to bring 2 friends with her. So she brought me, which I didn't get sick at all or have any issues, but of course that's still like just like any restaurant you go to, even though they say it's all good and stuff, even if something tastes too good, you're like freaking and psyching yourself out over it. So that was one of the things that was also like nice was with this river cruise, was that it was 100% gluten-free, and the kitchens were cleaned and all the precautions were taken, so you didn't need to worry about it at all, which was like nice. And like, I guess we're talking about our worries, but that was something that was nice to not have to worry about. So I feel like my worries weren't really with food. It actually was worries that you should be having with a vacation, of what activities I'm going to do. Am I going to make friends on this ship? Is it going to be awkward? Like, is it, different things like that you just typically worry with a normal vacation, which was a little bit of a change, but a nice change.
Yeah. And I also want to say they did a really great job. The Celiac Cruise for that particular one went through AmaWaterways, and AmaWaterways did a great job of taking celiac disease seriously. And not just the kitchens were cleared out, but they went through every little nook and cranny of that boat to clear it out and make sure there were no crumbs or anything left over from previous cruises.
They said that they went and they cleaned out all the vents and like everything, so that if flour, gluten, or whatever else was in the vents, that was all cleared out. So they like completely cleaned the ship. And then they were also really good about the fact that if typically like celiacs have lactose or like different other like allergies as well, and they are really good at accommodating everyone for not just gluten but also for lactose and any other allergy that there may be. They were like very accommodating and all very well educated in that. So we're starting to get into the expectations now and the versus reality. So you had all these anxieties about the excursions and finally getting to stress about things on a trip that the everyday person would stress about. What was the actual experience of being on that boat like and meeting other people with celiac disease? I mean, I feel like part of it was just kind of like any other cruise where you meet people that are like around your age or a little bit older or whatever else, and like you just become friends and stuff. But usually you have to kind of, just like anybody you meet in the real world, you have to kind of work to find that common ground, where on this ship everybody already had the common ground of celiac and the issues that come with that. So that was always the starter of conversation on the trip, and how you got diagnosed, because I don't think anyone on the ship got diagnosed the same way or had like the exact same symptoms in order to get diagnosed. And so that was something that was interesting, was just kind of hearing all the different ways that celiac can affect someone. One thing that was a little bit odd that I don't think either one of us really expected is that the ship did lean a little bit older, and there weren't many younger people on the ship, which was a little bit shocking and like awkward at first, but all the young people kind of came together like after a little while. But also it was nice that like being able to just talk and like with all the older people on the ship, and we ended up becoming good friends with them, and that where we now like chat still and keep up with each other's lives. So I feel like it was like, I don't remember what the original question was. But
I also feel like with these people on this cruise, there was like an intimacy built in already, because part of celiac is you're talking about issues that make most people uncomfortable in that what your reaction is and all that other stuff. You're talking about very personal, very, not the like
everyday
cutest
conversation.
Yeah, like not the cutest side effects happen if you get gluten. So I feel like I feel like we still talk to the people we were on that boat with, because we were able to just go right in and go for the jugular of like intimate personal conversations. And I enjoy that. I'm not a superficial person. I don't care about like small talk. So it was nice to be able to just be real with people.
Like, tell me how your poop is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I also thought it was interesting and made me feel better. So I know you don't listen to the podcast, but there is an episode where I go through my celiac diagnosis story and talk about how being diagnosed with celiac for me was the beginning of my journey. So I thought it was also interesting, and it also was, I don't know if validating is the right word, but it was helpful it seemed like anybody that was diagnosed after the age of 10 had another issue in addition to having celiac. So I think you were one of two people that were A, diagnosed really young, and B, it was just really celiac was all that you and that one other person had to deal with. So I think that was also nice, and you got tips and tricks from everybody about how to feel better, and how, okay, if you feel nauseous and you're having that side effect, ask your doctor about these medications, because they're still learning about celiac and how to combat it, because it manifests differently for so many people. so it was nice to just have people that were stuck on a boat together that had to were figuring it all out together. Mm-hmm. And they also had professionals on the boat. So if we had any questions, there were medical professionals there to help us through it. Mm-hmm. So the conspiracy theories didn't get too wild, mm-hmm. which was nice. But I want to back up before we even got on the boat. You got dealt, and we'll talk about this at another section of this conversation, but you got dealt a pretty crummy hand during your study abroad because COVID hit. The world broke while you were studying abroad. My mm-hmm. point in only bringing that up now is you were supposed to go to Budapest the weekend that you were sent home. Mm-hmm. So did you feel good about that? Because I said to you, I never had a desire to go to Budapest. I didn't care about going to Budapest ever. I didn't even know what it was. Mm-hmm. Now I know too much about it. But so I basically said to you, whatever you want to do, I'll follow your lead. And you planned all the things that we did, because we got in a day early. And you planned our day top to bottom, everywhere we ate, everywhere that we went. So was it nice to be able to feel that come to fruition? What was your experience in planning for that trip to Budapest for you? And I know you did it years prior, but...
mm-hmm. Well, I didn't, plan the food with going there years prior. That was something that was more done, as we got closer, flight going over, I got to figure this out. But I just combined words, which I knew that it wouldn't be as hard with trying to get food there because they're pretty good with celiac. And I'm trying to remind myself to say Budapest instead of Budapest.
Who cares?
Potato.
Yeah, it's literally potato. It's fine.
But I knew that they were pretty good with it over there. And I also had, a comfort with being able to, study abroad a few years prior, kind of learning that celiac is more accommodating over in Europe mm-hmm. rather than the United States. So I didn't have as much of a worry. I knew that we would be able to, get food and stuff. So I focused more on, I knew what activities and what things are big over in Budapest and what are the things to do. So I laid that out first of, okay, what are the best activities to do that we would both like and would want to hit, make sure top of the list, whatever to do, and then filtered in the food of what was by those couple of things. And then it ended up working out, but we found out while we were there that it was their national holiday, so their museums were free, so that was an added bonus. Could get a dessert for lunch. But, so didn't really plan on that, but it happened to be a happy coincidence, so that's how kind of, not too much craziness went into planning with that, but...
I also feel like an additional thing, and I feel bad about this, I feel like there's some things that we didn't do because we knew that there was a tour happening, so we assumed that certain things would be covered on the tour, and then we ended up missing out. So my big advice is, if you want to do it, go for it, and if you see it again on the tour, then see it again on the tour. It doesn't have to see it twice, but I felt bad that was my fault.
Well, no, that was just, the assumption that we had made, because... the cruise what you're talking about is the cruise, one of the excursion choices was to go for a tour of Budapest. So we didn't know what we were going to be getting a tour of Budapest of. Yeah. We just made the assumption that we'd be hitting all the big things and monuments and things in Budapest like you normally would on a tour, but we only saw half of it on the tour. So on our extra day, or with us getting there earlier, we didn't go and look at all those things because we made that assumption, but...
We'll not talk about the excursions we did do in Budapest.
Of, what we planned?
What we actually did, yeah.
Yeah, so Budapest is, the spa, basically. I don't know what the exactly you call it, but basically the spa of the world. That's kind of what they're known for. So we went to one of the baths. They're really big with their baths. That's what they're known for. And then the spa things that kind of go with it. So we went and we got a massage done, and then
do you want to tell that story? it really happened to me, but I don't.
I don't know. I don't know. Want to reveal that? I don't know if that's like, too personal.
Well, I think maybe it would be helpful for people to know, but with massages, usually Brittany panics about how much does one...
I don't get massages often. You get massages often.
Right.
So I don't know entirely, like...
What's the protocol in how much does one remove when they go and get a massage? Because every massage... And Brittany could be in a different state from me entirely, and I'll get a text message of her being like, so I'm about to go get a massage. What stays on? And... my response is, you could ask the masseuse. So
I'm like, I don't want to talk to them. I don't know. I'm embarrassed.
So Brittany and I were having a similar conversation, but it was a little bit more of a complicated thing in that we had bathing suits on. So I said, I think if you feel most comfortable, keep whatever on you feel comfortable keeping on. So did you go in first or did I go in first?
I went in first.
So Brittany goes in first. And
no, we went in at the same time.
We
went in at the same time,
but
we had
different people.
We were in 2 different rooms with 2 different people.
Right. So I also think it's important to note, maybe this is relevant. I had a one-piece bathing suit on because I'm very conservative in that way.
I had a one-piece bathing suit.
Oh, you did too?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm very confused as to how
You're
this
very
transpired.
confused. Do you want me to tell a story? Because clearly you don't remember.
I remember what happened to me. So I go in... And the guy just gives me a piece of fabric that looks like... It's the fabric of... If you watched your mom dye her own hair, that, like, thing she puts over her head to put highlights in. Like, that's the only... Like, a shower cap. It's that fabric, and it was set up...
And it was like a thong.
Yes. If it was even covering that much of a thong that a thong would. And then he gave me, like, a small square piece to put on... I don't know where, but it wasn't enough to cover anything in that regard either. So I'm like, you know what, whatever. They don't
culture.
care. Yeah, they don't. They've seen worse bodies than mine. Like, I'm giving myself a pep talk, and I go and do it. And the entire time I'm getting a massage, I'm like, oh my God, how do I get to Brittany and make sure she's okay and that she's not having a mental breakdown and she's not freaking out, because this is a bit much for me. So if it's much for me, it's a lot for her. That's what I'm spending the entire hour thinking. And then I finally get out. It was just awkward, and I had to keep reminding myself of, they've seen worse bodies than mine. Don't worry about it. Don't get too self-conscious. And so I exit the room, and I see Brittany sitting there waiting for me. And I said, and I don't remember exactly how it transpired, but something along the lines of, I asked Brittany, are you okay? What'd you think of the underwear? And Brittany looks at me and goes, what underwear? And we both start hysterical laughing because she got to keep her bathing suit on. The guy there was not even a conversation that needed to be had. He just let her keep the bathing suit on, I guess, right?
He just told me to lay down, just like bring it down to my hips, and I was face down and had a towel over me. So I was like, okay.
You got a towel too?
Yeah.
I really got gypped.
And then you came out, you were like, how, are you okay? What'd you think of the underwear and everything? I was like, what underwear? Like, what are you talking about, my guy? Like,
so I wish I took a picture of it, because I was like, I figured you would have seen it, so I didn't, but now I wish I took a picture of it so I could, when telling the story, people could really
I was
understand.
like, my massage was great. I fell asleep during it. What about you?
But then we went into the baths after, and even though it was late October and it was freezing outside, it was really refreshing and nice to be in the bath. So I 10 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah.
And then we walked back to our hotel.
Yeah, which I would not recommend walking back to your hotel.
After getting a massage.
Yeah, that's like 10 miles away after a massage, because our bodies felt great. We were like, this is the best thing to do after a flight. Like, it feels so good to refresh. And then we walked 10 miles and our bodies were
broken yet again.
Yeah. So that was fun. So we did that. Then we went back to the hotel, changed. And then we went to the... I don't know what the museum was called. It was like it was a museum for World War II.
It was a museum where it was it was during World War II. It was the SS building, like the Nazi police officer building
for when they took over Budapest.
Yeah. And then afterwards it became communist headquarters, where anybody that spoke out against the government or were not refugees, political prisoners, that's the word I'm looking for, were then taken and tortured in this space as well. And because it was a holiday where the holiday that was happening when we were there was celebrating Hungary's freedom of communist regime and the Soviet Union and all that stuff. So there was a line around the corner, but it was well worth the wait. I thought it was
was a very cool museum.
Yeah.
So we went, did that, and then, which also with how many times over the years, not just during World War II, that Hungary got taken over. If you're into architecture, it's a really cool city to go and visit, because you can see the buildings that the communists built, and they're like still rebuilding of places that were bombed and stuff from different wars. So there's a really like crazy mix of architecture and art that's there, which is pretty cool. So we went, did that, then we got lunch, and we found a place that made gluten-free goulash.
Which that place is called Kata. And if anybody wants the link to the restaurant, they could always go on hieatexplorelove.com, the blog, to see the link for that. Continue.
So we went, did that. That was super cool. And then, what did we do? Did we do anything else that night? I think we just walked around.
And then I think we like crashed, which you shouldn't do. Yeah. You should try to stay up.
While we were walking around, we came across a statue, and it's a fat police officer. He's got a belly. And
there's a myth with that guy too, right?
And the story with him is that if you rub his belly, then it'll like bring, it's either like bring good luck or like send away your digestive issues if you rub this fat police officer's belly. So we rubbed the crap out of his belly. You could see on his belly how like worn away it was and everything. So we did that, explored, kind of just like walking around the city, and then we went back to the hotel and crashed.
Yeah. So trying to think. Yeah. We also did we have dinner that night at Hard Rock Cafe? When did we go to Hard Rock?
Yeah, we went there for a meal. I don't remember if maybe that was lunch or dinner. And they were pretty good, but it's
a touristy spot.
Yeah, we shouldn't have gone there for, new country and experiencing the food and not just sticking with a chain. But I think that we were just tired and kind of over it.
It was close by.
Yeah, and we just needed food.
Yeah, and it was pretty good. And when all else fails, Hard Rock Cafe is pretty good and solid for food, and gluten-free. They're pretty cautious. And we got this humongous sundae that we shared. Mm-hmm. So then at some point, we were supposed to have dinner at the hotel for all Celiac Cruise folks.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was the first actual night. That was the next night.
Okay. So did we do a tour then during the day, and then they brought us back to the hotel, and then like the Monday morning we went on the boat? Is that how that went? We probably should have debriefed and reviewed things before recording.
So we got there a day early. So then the next day, it was everybody was coming in from their flights. And
that's when the holiday was, and that's when we saw the museum, I think.
No.
Oh, then what did we do during the day?
I don't know. But all those activities that we did was that like our first day being there. Maybe
I think the museum was that Sunday.
The museum, because I think we got in. Then that's why we went to the Hard Rock Cafe for dinner, because we were tired from getting off the flight and everything. Yeah. And then it was the next day that we did all like those activities, went and got the gluten-free goulash for lunch, and then we had that dinner.
Yeah.
Because everybody was getting in that day.
Yes, that sounds right. And we had an amazing time, and it was really cool to be able to see they only do this apparently on their river cruises, because I'm about to go on their ocean cruise, and they do not do the same thing for the ocean cruises. So it was really nice to meet the people at our table, and then you had a suggestion for something for us to do that night, in which we made friends with Jay and Mark.
The people that were at our table.
Yeah, and they joined us. And do you want to say what we did that night?
Yeah, so
Brittany is a bad influence on everybody.
Apparently, I guess I'm the wild child of the celiac group, which I don't know how much of an accomplishment that is. But with World War II and the bombings that happened, there are buildings, as I mentioned before, that are still not rebuilt and have holes in the ceiling. And some of those places have been converted to bars, and they're called the ruins bars. And there's basically just tapestry that's covering the holes in the ceilings. There's different parts where they're just letting the hole in the ceiling be and whatever. And each room is like a different theme. Of one room is disco, another one is just looks like just your hole in the wall bar, another one is like a forest room. So all the rooms are different themes, and it's all like art filled, et cetera, and et cetera. So it's just a cool bar and cool place to just kind of go and visit. And that's one of the things that Budapest is known for. And one of the things in my original trip from when I was studying abroad was planning on doing with like my college friends was to go to this bar and visit it and whatever else. So that's where I took our celiac group that joined us was to this bar to see it, which they hadn't heard about before. So it was a new experience for all of us. None of us had, besides me, had heard of it, but none of us had ever gone to one before. So that was kind of fun. And
it set the good stage of everybody on this trip is going to be pretty much game for anything and just being along for the ride and the adventure, which was nice. So I guess to go over quickly of what the rest of the trip was, every day we had a different trip, a tour, which basically was a general city tour, a walking tour, or we were on a shuttle of some sort. I think Vienna was the day where we spent the longest in. We got in on like a Tuesday night or a Monday night or something like that. And we saw the opera. That was an excursion we paid extra for. It was kind of like their opera, but for cruise people, not actually getting to go and see the Viennese opera. And then we basically had the whole day in Vienna, but unfortunately there was a holiday there as well. But unlike Budapest, everything was closed. So that is why later on I went back to Vienna and I got to enjoy that a little bit more. But for every day kind of played along like that. We did a walking tour, and if we had time, we did a little bit of on our own. We went back in the boat, off we went to the next city, and it was pretty amazing. Do we want to just go through our favorite? I have the list of cities we went to. Do you want to just tell me rapid fire your favorite memory from each place?
I can try if I can remember the activity that went with it.
So, favorite memory. Well, let's start with Budapest. Favorite memory from Budapest.
I think probably the World War II museum.
Oh, really? Okay. What was your favorite memory about Vienna?
Vienna, I think, was the concert that we went to that night.
Wow, I'm all sorts of surprised by your answers. What was your favorite memory of Salzburg?
Salzburg, I think... Salzburg, I think, was probably just, like, walking around the city.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful city.
Yeah. Small. You don't really need more than, like, a day or two there.
Yeah. What do you remember, or what's your favorite memory about Vilshofen?
Oh, I was like, excuse me? Vilshofen? Well, that was when we had the Oktoberfest that night.
That's Paso.
No.
That's the last day.
No, that was Vilshofen. Vilshofen was the last day.
Oh. Okay, I'll go.
Because that's what we just did, like, the walk. We got there, like, kind of late because we got stuck in the the water gates or whatever for a longer time. And so we missed like the whole day in Wilhelmshaven and only got to do like a short walk around the city, and people were in church, so the whole city was closed and empty.
Oh, okay.
And then it was the Oktoberfest that night.
So was the Oktoberfest your favorite memory from Wilhelmshaven?
I think so, yeah.
What about Passau?
There, I think, was just walking around the city. It's like I didn't know anything about that place, and it was a really cool little art city that the whole town was painted in like rainbow bricks and leading you to different art shops.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my favorite, was just kind of like following that rainbow trail.
What was your favorite of all, like out of the entire trip? What's the thing that sticks with you the most about the Celiac Cruise experience?
I think just being able to see so many different places all so quickly. Mm-hmm. We saw them all so quickly, all these different cities, that I kind of wished in some places we had more than we only got like 6 hours in some places.
Yeah.
But that's also just typical of like a cruise in general.
Yeah.
So that was something that I wish we got more of. But I'd say like besides that, my favorite memory was just being able, like anytime it was food time or we were all sitting down like together in the dining room and we got to meet up with the people that we had become friends with, or got to meet new people with sitting at their tables during dinner time, was probably one of my favorite parts of it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jim and Karen.
Yes.
We sat with them for a lot of the nights, and they became our cruise parents.
Poor Jim and Karen. To the point where people actually thought they were our parents.
Yeah.
Genuinely. So that was fun. What was the experience like with the food on the boat?
It was all really good.
You had Eggs Benedict every morning.
Yeah, that was a sleigh. Yeah, had Eggs Benedict every morning. Yeah, the food was amazing and really good. And typically, like they would basically make you anything that you wanted if it wasn't on the menu. They didn't often do that, but I'd say I am like a little bit of a picky eater sometimes, and so there are some things on the menu that I was like, I am not about this tonight, but kind of was like, gotta do it for the culture, and suffered through it. But the food was really amazing, and it was nice to not have to worry. Of course, had that thought in the back of my head of, are you sure this is gluten-free? But kind of pushed that down and just enjoyed.
Yeah, because it was gluten-free. There was no
issue or anything.
Yeah, that is a constant buzz. I'm living with our grandparents right now, and they think I'm a little crazy because whenever we're in mid-meal, I stop and get up and go check the wrapper again of whatever meal I made for myself, even though I've checked it 1,000 times, just to make sure. And every time we go to a restaurant, I ask the waiter no less than 3 times, are you sure it's gluten-free? I've been gluten too many times that I don't know if you have the same level of paranoia that I have, but it's good to know everybody has it somewhat.
Yeah.
What about traveling on this cruise and having the gluten-free part, not worried about it? Has there any part of it that has stuck with you for the experience that years later you learned about yourself or what have you? I can give an example for myself.
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I felt like I actually am way more of a people person than I realized, because I think thinking about all of my different dietary restrictions, I think exhausts me to a level that I didn't understand until I didn't have to worry about it for a week. And also because they had some seminars too on the cruising day, and they were like, oh, if you have a gluten allergy, you have balancing issues and you're going to be more exhausted than other people. And you turned to me with the balancing thing and you were like, my whole life makes sense now, because you are an all-star gymnast.
Yeah, but I didn't have an issue with balance.
But you said that you could be on a beam, but yet you were such a klutz in everyday life.
Yeah.
So that's partly balance.
I guess so. But that's also just me being an awkward human being, too, I feel like, in part.
Also, for you and I both.
I can flip on a beam, but I have trouble walking sometimes.
Yes. But for, also with exhaustion. Like, you are someone that could spend weeks on end just in your bed underneath your blankets. And I wonder if you didn't have celiac, if that would still be the case. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there were things where I was like, oh, I wonder how much this has actually defined my personality and who I am as a person. Because I felt like a completely different human on that boat. But you didn't feel that way?
No.
Maybe that's another perk of being diagnosed so young. But, all right, we're going to wrap up this portion of our conversation. With the Celiac Cruise, I asked the same wrap-up questions. Do you feel the city of Budapest is safe for those with celiac?
Yes.
Do you have a favorite place that you ate?
The place we got the gluten-free goulash.
Kata.
Yes.
We already went over favorite memory of the experience. Do you feel Budapest would be a city to vacation to or live in?
I think you could definitely live there. I think it depends on your personality and everything of how much you would enjoy it with, like, the culture and everything of how it is over there. Vacation, yeah. I think a couple of days. You don't need to be spending, like, a full week or anything there.
Is this a city where you would go and chill out and relax or be active?
I think it's a mix of both.
And this could be about the people of Budapest that we encountered or the people of the Celiac Cruise. How did you feel the people were?
Felt like they were good. I don't know. People on the cruise were really nice and fun, and it was nice to be able to meet all of them. No complaints there. People of Budapest were fun, but also a little bit, like, cold, I feel like, so.
That's a common trait of countries that were formerly under communist rule, I feel like.
So, I mean, not to their own fault or anything, but.
Alrighty, so that's about the Celiac Cruise. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Eat, Explore, Love, the podcast. Make sure to tune in to the second part where Brittany goes through her perspective of our diagnosis story. Till next time. Thank you for joining me this week for all the fun journeys and lessons learned on my big adventure called life. For more information on the different cities discussed, check out the blog posts on hieatexplorelove.com, posted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you have any questions or fun stories to share, feel free to reach out at hieatexplorelove@gmail.com. Until next week, remember to eat well, explore the world, and love yourself. See you next time. This episode is produced, scripted, and edited by me, Ashley. Special thanks to Sarah Mienka.